morning.
Good morning.
Good morning at the back here. Yes, well done. Not many sitting at the front, but that's okay. Hopefully throughout the session I'll get you moving slightly sort of forward, okay, to be part of the session. So there will be a little bit of lots of input from me, but I will be asking you guys to do a little bit of work yourselves, okay, as well, okay, to keep the session a little bit interactive as well. So it gives me great pleasure today to be speaking on storytelling, and in particular integrating something called critical literacy, okay, into language learning and teaching. It's something that is becoming more relevant, more necessary, okay, in our working lives. When employers are looking for employees, they need people who can think, be critical, solve problems, etc., etc. So we're going to have a look today how we can start, even at the lowest levels, sort of primary level, a few first steps at how we can start helping our students become more critical with their reading, and start developing not only traditional literacy, but also things like critical literacy, visual literacy. There's so many other literacies out there these days. All right? So, just as a way of, we're going to be having a look at this character. We're going to be framing the session today. We're going to be having a look at a few sort of steps, how we can integrate critical literacy into our classrooms. And we're going to be following the story of this, what is she? She's a super lady, yes, or possibly a super woman. Yeah, superhero is not very politically correct these days, right? Okay, so a superwoman, super lady. She has superpowers, possibly, all right? So before we start, so we're going to use this lady to frame today's session, show you a few little practical activities, a little framework also for developing critical literacy, and we're going to be using this lady and we're going to be following her story through to help us today. Before we start, just get you guys thinking a little bit creatively, a little bit critically. Turn to a partner or partners, okay? And tell your partner, see if you can answer some of those WH questions. So, who is she? What's she doing? What's her name? When is it? Where is it? Okay? Why is she putting out the fire? Okay? How old is she? Etc., etc., okay? So I'm going to give you maybe about 1 or 2 minutes just with a partner. Just start generating a few ideas, okay? Keep you awake this morning. So turn to a partner, see if you can answer a few of those questions. Build up an idea about this lady. Well done. Hi.
Yes, I'm Lisa.
Lisa.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Who is she? She looks like a superhero.
I see. She's just a housewife.
A housewife. Just a housewife. Interesting.
And there's something happened in the kitchen.
Something happened in the kitchen, okay.
She has taken the bottle, put on the fire, and maybe it's at the dinner time. Well, just like already told you, is in the kitchen.
Okay.
Because when she is cooking, and then so the girls have something in the kitchen. Yeah.
How did the accident happen?
She talked to someone and she forgot she was cooking something.
Interesting. She's definitely a superhero, and what is she doing? She's putting it on fire. And when is she doing it? That's interesting. Like, I don't know what time. Okay. I'm gonna stop you there. So What kind of names? We had a Sandy back here. Her name is Sandy, maybe because of the colour of her hair, maybe, or we'll see. We'll talk about some visual clues later for understanding texts. What else? Any other names that you've got? Kina, Lady Gaga. Okay, Kina, Sandy. She's just a housewife. Okay, never underestimate the power of a housewife. Yeah, okay. What else? Any other information that you came up with your partners? What else? Where do you think it is? In Taipei? Taipei 101. There's a fire in Taipei 101. Okay. Alright, anything else? When is it? What kind of time? Modern time? Future? Past? Today? Yesterday? Oh, right, yesterday in Paris. That was pretty terrible, wasn't it? My God, yes. Okay. Alright. So just a way of a bit of a lead-in, get you thinking. As a way of a little tip, actually, to get your students more motivated for this kind of activity, I often use little... I do apologize, I actually sat on my dice this morning in the car, hence they're a little bit squashed. But I sometimes use these little question dice. So you can actually, I'll just find a little template on the internet, like a dice template, which you can get your students to stick together, colour in, and you can write the question words on there, and then you can go on, just throw that. So throw it, and it lands on, what's that? When. So they have to ask each other some when questions, they throw again, etc, etc. Alright? Quite easy for you guys to talk about the questions, maybe you're much higher level, or native speaker, or whatever. But when you're thinking about doing some kind of activity like this one, okay, building up a picture, or predicting about stories, characters, think about maybe how you can support them with the structure. Maybe do some work with different questions that you can be asking, okay, depending on the level of the student. Write some key questions for each of the question words there up on the board as a reference for your students, just sort of to help them sort of scaffold and support them with the activity. All right. So actually, her name is Shelley. Okay, it was an S. Okay, her name is Shelley. So we're going to be having a look at Shelley today to frame some of our activities. And we're going to be having a look at something called critical literacy. We'll have a look at what it is, okay, why it's important, and in a few steps how we can start integrating from primary level. All right. So let's have a little look about what is critical literacy. If you're really astute, you might see a few of the answers on your handout. All right. But could you just turn over your handout for now? Don't look at your handout for now. I want to just turn over. No peeking. All right. I just want to get your ideas first. So, what do you think is critical literacy? Have you heard of things like critical thinking, critical approaches? What do you think is critical literacy? Comparing things? What kind of things? Where you possibly observe? Yes. Yeah, okay. In relation to reading and texts is what we're looking at here. Yeah, possibly. Anything else? You on the right lines? Well, I'm going to give you a few clues. See if you can fill in those blanks there without looking at your handout. See if you can fill in those blanks. Build up a definition. So the reader's ability to analyse, maybe, what they have read. All right, number 2. E could be evaluate, analyse, evaluate. What else? Number 3. Come back to number 3. Number 4. What do you think? Shelley. What is Shelley? Who is Shelley? She's a... Alright. going to test you a little bit further. Oh, teacher. Alright, I think you guys got a few of them up there. Let's have a quick look at some of these key words, help us understand the definition of critical literacy. Here we go, yeah. So things like, when we're talking about reading, we're talking about text, so things like, analysing, going a little bit deeper, so analysing, evaluating, so they can understand at a sort of deeper level, but also understand the relationships between different characters, and also to personalise that. So understand the relationships between characters, and maybe sort of personalising, comparing to your own lives. Okay. At a slightly higher level as well, also maybe sort of questioning the intentions of an author. I don't think we can really expect primary school students to go that deep. Okay, but it's something that we can build towards a little bit later. All key skills they're going to need later on in their lives. But what we want to do is to try and help them become more active, more analytical with their reading, okay? And again, a little bit later on, not to begin with, but a little bit later on, really understanding the author's viewpoint, okay? Digging a bit deeper with further questions, okay? And then understanding that different texts are open to different interpretations, all right? Again, you're not going to achieve this overnight, but it's something that we can start primary level to build towards. Alright? So critical literacy, as we saw, is something that's come around now. It actually used to be an approach. Critical literacy was an approach which has now been an extension to traditional literacy. Okay? Being competent at both reading and writing. Okay? So with the modern age, all your students, I'm sure, are digital natives. Hands up if you were born a digital native. Hands up if you were born a digital native. There's a few young faces here. Nobody, right? Hands up if your students were born digital natives. Yeah, so they were born playing with it's about 3-4 years old. I was taught how to use different functions on my iPad by my 4-5-year-old niece. She's incredible, and all right. So the world is changing, and because of that, we have to try and change a little bit as well. So what you'll see now is traditional literacy, but also different types of literacy, which will include critical literacy. So what other different types of literacy do we have? Some examples here, beginning with T. What other types of literacy? So that's traditional literacy. We've got maybe critical literacy. Beginning with V, any literacies beginning with V that you can think of? Visual literacy, yeah. Beginning with I. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, that's just on top of traditional literacy. That's just 3. We call them like new literacies. Okay, new areas which are being integrated now. You'll find a lot into education. All right, and there are many more types of literacy. So we've got traditional literacy, reading, writing, maybe 4 skills, information literacy, visual literacy, critical literacy, which we'll focus on today, media, tool, and digital literacy as well. I'll give you my email at the end if you're interested to get these slides. I can send them over to you. Just drop me an email. But what you'll find is now a lot of textbooks are moving away from just this traditional approach, traditional literacy. It's great, and we need to get competent students in all 4 skills, but these days it may be not enough, okay, in the modern, to help them succeed academically, but also in the workforce as well. So we're going to have a look today then at how we can combine both, traditional literacy with critical literacy, but also in there as well we'll show a few ideas for visual literacy as well. As I mentioned, a lot of traditional textbooks, they are centered around traditional literacy, building knowledge, understanding, and then applying that knowledge. Okay, that's pretty standard. These days you'll find now textbooks like our Story Central one are going a little bit further. Okay, helping students analyse more. Okay, help them to interpret the information, to question a little bit more, think a little bit deeper. Okay, to help deepen their understanding. Okay, with the overall aim of trying to really empower the students with these new kinds of literacy. Before we move on and have a look at a few examples, we've talked a lot about literacy. Sounds really great. Critical literacy, visual literacy, fantastic. Let's have a little quick look at why it's becoming more important. Maybe from a Taiwanese perspective, I'll be really interested to understand here. I'm going to show you some statistics from, do you know Forbes magazine? It's a big business magazine. Just one example of some research that is done. But what do you think are the top 10 skills that employers will look for these days? What do you think are some of the top 10 skills employers will look for? Communication, problem solving, negotiation, critical thinking, creativity. Okay. Do your students have these kind of skills yet? Trying to. Okay. I'll show you some research from Taiwan a little bit later. Actually, it was quite interesting study that I was looking at. But yeah, you're on the right line. So critical thinking came up on top. Okay, which is obviously. So critical literacy is like the approach. Critical thinking is like a skill, a 21st century skill, which can come under that approach. So yeah, you're right, critical thinking, problem solving, decision making, active listening, okay, part of communication that you mentioned as well, right? All really key things, okay, and then also some maybe more job-specific kind of skills there as well. But that's saying something, okay, that employers are looking for these areas, but a lot of education systems maybe are not teaching these areas as effective as we could be. All right. So again, we're going to have a look at how we can make a few first steps, particularly with this critical areas, critical thinking, critical literacy. Nice pretty picture. Okay. This one sort of demonstrates how we want our students, maybe later on when they get to university, okay, they're going to be up against a lot of difficult or more, more diverse situations. They're going to be working maybe more in seminars, lectures, things like this. They're going to have to start developing more skills. They're going to be given different texts and things like that. If they don't have those skills, they will struggle in the first few years of university. I was reading this study about Taiwan and a few issues that they had with college students. Okay, so college students, university level students. Just a quick read of that quote. So what they were saying is maybe they still don't have enough skills, and there wasn't much time inside the syllabus, the curriculum, to actually be teaching these skills. Likewise, teachers didn't really know how to do it either. They said, so maybe their superiors would say, go do some more critical literacy, critical thinking, okay, but the teachers weren't really sort of sure about how to approach that. So what we're looking for is maybe a book where these kind of elements are already integrated, to make it easy for teachers to start integrating those kind of skills. Again, if you're interested more, I can send you on that study in greater depth. So we're going to have a look now. We sort of set the scene, the framework about critical literacy. We're now going to move on and have a look at how stories, through maybe the power of storytelling, we can start integrating some of these key core skills, in particular critical literacy. So I'm sure you're all quite aware of the power of reading, particularly at sort of lower levels. What are some of the benefits of getting our students to be good readers at an early age, to get them reading sort of extensively from an early age? What are some of the key benefits of using stories or getting them to be good readers? What are some of the key benefits? Take 20 seconds, turn to a partner. What are some of the key benefits at an early age of extensive reading, getting them to become good readers? Tell a partner.
That's a good question. So I would benefits.
Tell me first.
Were you an early reader when you were young? Were you an early reader? Did you start reading very early in life?
Yes, I like to read.
You like to read?
Yeah.
When I was young, I did not like to read so much. So I started enjoying reading by the time I was maybe 11 or 12. Before that, I never read. I really did not like it. But what are the benefits of it? I'm not sure. I don't know.
On the contrary, I like to read sometimes during the classes. When the teachers are on the platform, I just take some books. I like to read under the table. And most of the book is about the famous detective. You see?
All right. What do you think? Just shout out some of the key benefits. Or maybe you were talking about last night's dinner. I'm not sure.
And then not just reading and also reading out, it's good for articulation.
Yes.
And also the word recognition. And
Yes.
it's good for the imagination without stopping them.
Brilliant.
And build up the really good reading habit.
Brilliant. So not actually just reading, right? Actually, when they're reading, they're developing other skills. So people often say, "Sorry, how do they develop their listening skills when they are reading?" But like you said, they can read out loud, they can articulate things like that. Yeah. What else? So building out maybe sort of listening skills, not only reading but imagination. What else? Creativity. How can reading lead to creativity?
If there's a teacher, maybe she's going to ask a question in text or hidden text or in text, and if she asks the question hidden in text or like this, and give the students chances to think and express themselves.
Great idea. Anything else? What other skills? Yes.
They can be more happy because they understand the words and they can read out loud. And after that, maybe they're more interested in reading more books.
Yes.
Their knowledge will explore.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if they're building up sort of knowledge, they're improving their reading. It can be really motivating as well. It's a bit of something called like a beginner's paradox. Like, how do you get them from the start reading like that when they don't have any language, right? It can be really demotivating right at the start, right? So again, sort of building up slowly, pre-teaching a lot of vocabulary, recycling all this kind of vocabulary as well in the class, can help them get across that first step, which then they can maybe become a little bit more independent with their reading at home as well. Okay, all right, good ideas. Yeah, I think you've touched on most of them there. There's a guy called, have you heard of a guy called Stephen Krashen? A guy called Stephen, yes!
An amazing man.
Why is he an amazing man?
He has very unique opinions on English education, and he's spot on.
What about in terms of sort of reading? What does he say?
Refresh my memory. It's been a long time since I heard him speak.
Well, I was lucky enough to see him. He came to Shanghai. I'm based in Shanghai. He came to Shanghai last year.
Okay.
And he doesn't hide behind a PowerPoint like me. He just gets up there and just sort of tells stories basically about his beliefs, and he's just very, very sort of passionate about it. And what he says is, students you shouldn't teach all these individual skills, okay, like reading, writing, like step-by-step grammar skills. Just throw at them all this comprehensible input through songs, through stories, just expose them to English language. Okay, forget about the skills for now, just expose them to the English language through comprehensible input. Doesn't matter if they don't understand everything, okay, first up, but it's good. That's a great start to the process. Funnily enough, the guy sitting next to him was a guy called Rod Ellis, who is very skills driven. Yeah, so they had a really great debate. And as always in English language teaching, there's never ever one correct method or answer for teaching. If there was, we would all be doing it, right? So the moral of the story was a little bit of comprehensible input, build a few little skills, nice little balance, and there you go. All right, but it was interesting. I'm like you. I do agree with what he's saying. But I think for lower levels, we do need some structured kind of sort of skills building as well to go with it. But what he says basically is if we don't read, maybe we can get maybe to about this number of words if we're lucky when we go through like a full cycle of education, maybe sort of 10,000 words in English. But if we can become great readers, then we can get up somewhere around here. Actually, this was more for L1 readers in the UK. Okay. So yeah, so expanding the vocabulary. You've mentioned listening, okay. Can also help us with our speaking as well. You know, seeing how words are put together with other words to build sentences, to build paragraphs. So for production skills, speaking, writing can help us. Can build vocabulary. We saw imagination, creativity as well. You mentioned that, all right. And lady in the middle there also talks about motivation. Okay, if we can motivate our students to read, they can enjoy it, they can go home, they can read with their parents. That's a great start as well. And also we're going to talk about helping them become a little bit more critical as well, and developing not only literacy, but other forms of literacy. So we're going to have a look now, a little sort of framework about how we can integrate critical literacy into the classroom. To start, put the students on the pathway, maybe later on in their lives for academic success. So let's have a look at a few first steps at primary level, what we can start doing with our students to help integrating some critical literacies. And we're going to be having a look at some a superhero theme as well to frame that. Okay. I was playing around with this acronym. This is the best way that I can remember, to help me remember. It's called like a paper framework, and we're going to have a look at this paper framework today about different steps, how you can integrate critical literacy. So we've got P for prediction, A for analysing, maybe different characters, comparing characters, personalising, and also reflecting. Okay, different areas that we can do with stories to help build critical literacy. So you guys already, maybe with your students as well, maybe you've used your creative dice to maybe predict about the character. Can you remember her name? Spot on. All right. So we're going to have a look at the story of Shelley and find out more about her. 6 pictures there. See if you can predict the storyline. See if you can predict. So you've got a little clue already down there. Okay. See if you can put them in the correct order. Maybe just write down, jot it down, and we'll come back and reflect on it at the end. See if you were correct. Okay, so number 1 is there. So hands up, put your hand up if you think number 2 is up here. Put your hand up. Put your hand up if you think this is number 2. Put your hand up if you think this one is number 2. Whoa, we've got one hand. This one? Yeah, we've got a few hands there. Yeah, okay. Put your hand up if you think this one is the next one, number 2. This one is number 2? Okay. Oh, we've got some very... Oh, you can very much change your mind, alright? Anyway, keep it in mind and we'll check, we'll go have a look at the story and check and see if you were right. So this is Shelley. And what's her job? Can you see her job? She's a... Shelley the chef. Okay, Shelley the chef. And who do you think this guy is? Who do you think this guy is? The big boss. And how do you think he is feeling? How do you think he is feeling? He's angry. Why? Why is he angry? How do you know he is angry? He's yelling. Sorry, he's finger pointing. Do you do that to your students? Never. Okay, finger pointing. And why? Why is he angry, do you think? Why is he angry? She's always late, possibly. Alright. So we're actually going to have a little bit of help from a professional storyteller. Great for a teacher if you don't feel confident about telling stories yourself in front of your class. So we're going to call on the assistance of a professional storyteller to introduce the first part of this story for you today. Alright? So let's just get over that. So what's the first part of the story about Shelley the chef?
The Secret Life of Shelley the Chef. This is the story of a very special woman. She's a superhero. She helps other people when they need it. But it's not easy being a superhero, especially when you have another job. Sometimes our superhero has too many things to do. Let's meet her. So, this is Shelley. She's a chef. She works at Antonio's pizza restaurant in town. Every day she cooks pizza. She washes the dishes. She cleans the kitchen. Shelley has long blonde hair and big blue eyes. Hi, sorry I'm late, says Shelley to the restaurant owner, Antonio. You're always late, says Antonio. Why? I'm tired. I go to bed late every night, says Shelley.
Sounds like a teacher, right?
Later that day, Shelley is in the kitchen making pizzas. But the waiters and other chefs in the restaurant aren't working. They are all looking at the TV. What are you watching? Asks Shelley. She's wearing her tall white chef's hat and black chef's apron. We're watching the news, says one of the waiters. Look, there's a superhero in town. There's a mystery superhero in town, says the reporter on TV. She wears a black cape and a mask. She rescues animals. On the TV, they can see the superhero. She's climbing a tree. Her long blonde hair is tied in a ponytail. In the restaurant, the chef and waiters watch the superhero on TV. She finds a cat high up in the tree and rescues it. She gives it to the cat's owner, who smiles. Wow, says the big chef with the black beard. She's good at climbing. The reporter on TV continues. She puts out fires. On the TV, they can see the superhero again. She's standing on a building. The building is on fire, but the superhero throws water on the fire. The superhero has long black boots.
All right, so Shelley the chef, she is no ordinary lady, right? So she's a chef, okay, by day, and a superhero, okay, also. So what are some of her superhero powers? She can climb trees. What else can she do? Put out fires, all right? So, what do you think will happen next? So we've seen a little bit about Shelley the chef. What do you think will happen next? A, B, or C? Tell a partner, A, B, or C? So, hands up for A. Hands up for A. Hands up for B. I'd like to see some burning. Hands up for C. All right. We will check. Let's check and see. Okay. Well, I'll just skip through the story quickly. Again, maybe in class should take a little bit more time. So there's a thief in town. Okay, and they're back in the restaurant, and Shelley sees the thief in her magic plate. Okay, she puts on her mask, and then whoosh, okay, she gets the thief. All right, and then she ends up going back to the restaurant, but she leaves on her mask, okay, and her colleagues can then see that she is the superhero, okay. So if you said C, well, that Sandra, you're not allowed to do this one. You've read this story already. All right. So that's a little bit about sort of predicting what's going to happen next. Okay, get them thinking a little bit sort of deeper. Let's have a look at now, like analysing the character. Let's have a look at how we can analyse Shelley the chef. So what you saw already of Shelley, how do you know that she is a superhero? What visual clues are there in the story to tell you that she is a superhero?
Dress. Costume.
Her costume? Yes. What else? She's always late. A superhero is always late.
Always has a job.
They do have some movies now about really bad superheroes, don't they? So yeah, it could be. The storyteller was talking about so when she's a chef, you can see ponytail, and also you can see that same ponytail when she's a superhero. What else do we know? She also had her special plate. So when you're also maybe a teacher, when you're writing on the board and the students behind you are misbehaving, you need some kind of special thing you can see on the board, a superpower. What else? So we've got, maybe her big blue eyes as well, her ponytail, her long blonde hair, her magic powers, she can look in a plate, okay, and also, we can see through her eyes, she can climb trees, etc., etc., okay. Have I got a pen here? I do have a little pen. There's also a nice activity when you're comparing characters from stories. When you be able to see them both. Do you remember in your at school when we were studying? Did you ever use those things? Can you see that? What do you call those? Can you see those? We have two circles together. What do we call that? Do you remember? So we call them a Venn diagram. Remember that? Like a Venn diagram. Why do we use Venn diagrams? We're comparing what? Between what? Between maybe two people or two things or two places, okay? So this one I love to do with my students is to compare characters. So in the left-hand side, they write down some maybe facts about Shelley that are different from me. So for example, Shelley has long blonde hair. I used to have long blonde hair, it's going now. But for me, I have, what do I have? Short brown hair. Okay? So comparing different facts and any similarities. Do you have any similarities to Shelley? Maybe ladies, you're female, right? Do you have female? What other similarities did you have? You're always late for class. Okay. Big blue eyes. So you do. They put those special contact lenses. I saw them in the Shilin night market last night. They had these different coloured contact lenses. Yeah, that could be a way. So the students would build up a comparison, okay, between the character and themselves. Okay, then they would use this as a springboard for production. So maybe in a pair group, they would use their notes here to maybe describe the similarities, differences to the group. This one actually works well at all levels, okay, even up to sort of adults as well when you're comparing people, places and things. Just to get the students thinking a little bit more deeply about the characters. We can also help students maybe sort of relate the stories they are reading to their own lives, okay, to personalize the stories. Oh, you look very happy with that one. You recognise lots of those ones. Which characters do you recognise there? Shout out. Which ones do you recognise?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Yes. Superman. Batman.
Robin.
Flash. Robin. Yeah, where's Spidey? Who's that guy there? You can let me know who that guy is. I'm sure I have a little surprise somewhere. So students can also, maybe personalise the story. They can choose their own superhero, become their own superhero, and we can get them to maybe choose or give them some ideas about particular superhero jobs that they are good at. Okay, you don't have to stick to these ones. They can be a little bit, as you said, a bit more creative or imaginative as well. So they can choose their own superhero. They can choose their own superhero jobs. And then, dun, 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 really cool activity. They can create little superhero masks, so they can colour in and cut out their own superhero mask. They can become their own superhero, okay? So for example, hi, I'm Batman, and I can catch thieves, okay? You might say, hi, I'm Wonder Woman, and I can
Take a rubber.
rabbit. That's a rubber, okay? So here the kids would actually go around the classroom meeting their other superhero friends, okay, introducing themselves as their own superhero, as a way of personalising the theme, okay, to their likes as well. Alright? Talking about sort of personalising, getting them to think of other superheroes. So Shelley, how many jobs did she have? She's a superhero and a chef. Do you know any other superheroes with 2 jobs? What other superheroes can you think of with 2 jobs? Spider-Man. What's the name of his real character in Spider-Man? What's his name? Peter Piper. No, not Peter. Peter Pan. Peter. I've forgotten his surname, but Peter someone, right? And what's his job? He's a photographer. Yeah. What about Superman? Journalist. What's his name?
Clark
Kent. Yeah. Strong. And Batman? Bruce Wayne. Okay, Bruce Wayne. And what was his job? He was a rich man, like a businessman, right? Yeah. Okay. So relating maybe like stories to other stories that they may know as well can really sort of help them. And also we talked a little bit about reflection as well. Okay, so going back to the original story, did you get the order of the story correct? Were you correct with the order of the story? Possibly some, maybe some may not. Okay, so you can always return to those original prediction activities, okay, and get the students to just reflect on if they got the story correct, in the correct order or not. This one a great one if you're lucky enough to have something like this. You can even cut out the pictures and they can arrange on their desks. They can then listen or read the story and then maybe change the order depending on how well they did. All right. Okay. So just a few ideas in line with that sort of paper approach. Okay. So predicting, analysing, personalising, and reflecting. I just want to show you an example of a little technique that you can use with stories and reading in your classrooms. Hands up if you are teaching primary school students. Okay. On average, how many students do you have in a class here in Taiwan? 30? 28, 30. Okay. Great. Hands up if you're teaching secondary school students. Are you teaching literature as well in your classes, or just pure sort of English language? Teaching a bit of literature as well. Okay. I don't know. Okay. All right. So I just want to show you an example of something called a tableau. Okay, it's a little technique that you can use that works well with this paper approach. You can use it for maybe predicting what's going to happen next. You can do it for personalising, analysing the story, but also reflecting by retelling the story. And it's called a tableau. Okay, it's actually built around a drama technique. So these are actually some of my students in Malaysia. Can you guess what story they were looking at in their classes? Can you see the actors? There's the guy on the left, you might be able to tell from this guy here who he might be. Some super masks here, if you could tell me which story that is. Any idea? Who said that? The man in black? The Phantom of the Opera. Okay. So actually the students were studying the text Phantom of the Opera in their classes, and they used this tableau technique as a way of expressing or reflecting, even critically reflecting on the story. Okay. So this is a technique that is used with groups of students, okay, to try and retell the story. What tableau is like a freeze framing. Okay, it's like creating these little pictures, freeze frame pictures of different maybe parts of the story. We talked about digital natives at the start. This one is great if they're all into their selfies and things like that. This whole approach works quite well. So what we do is give the students some sentences, okay, or scenes from a story. We put them in to groups. So we give them some sentences from the story. So for example, this group might get, this is Shelley the chef. Every day she cooks pizza. Okay, that's your sentence. This group here, maybe, we're watching the news. Look, there's a superhero in town. So you give different groups, different sentences of the story, and then they create like a freeze frame picture of that sentence. Okay, so they'll have one narrator, okay, who will say the sentence, and the other people in their group will just freeze frame to describe that sentence, to describe that that scene. Okay, great way of retelling, great way of helping them really understand, reflect, also being a little bit sort of critical as well, in the sense that they're developing their own view of how the scene should look. All right. Again, this is a great one. If you've got space in your class, even with limited space like this, no problem. Okay, so you can divide them up, give them a sentence from the story. Okay, they prepare like a freeze frame to retell the story bit by bit. Okay, so that's called Tableau. Again, I'll give you my email at the end. If that interests you, something you might want to use in your classroom, do drop me an email later. Some example sentences that we can give to some groups that they freeze frame or act out. So this one was great. So I had some students doing this one. So they had some students in that group, they would freeze frame like that. And then they had some students freeze frame climbing, and then some freeze frame putting out the fires. Okay, they had a lot of fun with that one. It really helps with the understanding the story as well, but they can put their own little touch on the story. If they're really clever with that prediction phrase, before they read the whole story, just show them maybe an extract of the story. They then maybe have to or act out or freeze frame what they think is going to happen next. So either they can use it for either retelling the story, or maybe if you're clever for predicting as well. So that is Tableau. So today we should have a look at different kinds of literacy, sort of critical literacy, what it was, why it's important, and a few little basic first steps at primary level, how we can start integrating that into our classroom. So we had a look at the paper approach, so the predicting, analysing, personalising, okay, and reflecting. All key steps, first steps to help our students become a little bit more sort of critical in their approach. So we had a look at the what, why, and how of critical literacy. Just to end off as well this session today, in terms of reading, getting our students to become good readers. We mentioned all those skills, you told me all the benefits of reading. But as a teacher as well, we have to set a good example. We have to be passionate, strong readers as well, to try and sort of pass on that example to our students. So this father is staying awake all night, I think probably to try and get in touch more with maybe his teenage daughter or something, okay? But do get out there, become a passionate reader yourself, and if you're a passionate reader, you'll be able to pass that on to your students as well. There's some links there as well to some storytelling online training videos. So these are webinars, online training. You can find them on our Macmillan ELT storytelling website. So storytelling with young learners. Okay, you'll find some more here as well. This one was the article about critical thinking, critical literacy in Taiwan colleges. If you're interested or personalizing more to your own context. That was a really interesting read. Again, do email me at the end. I can send those slides over to you. Talking about reading and the power of reading and imagination, Macmillan are also running a regional competition. Okay, this year celebrates 150 years of which character? Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, so we were the first guys to publish the first Alice in Wonderland 150 years ago. We are running a regional competition. I think in the packs, do they have in there, in your packs, there's a little green, that one, little green, can I look at that one there? There we go. There's some information about a competition. So what teachers are doing maybe at the end of term or maybe on a Friday 1 week is setting up a little Alice tea party, which they record. There's some worksheets in there as well to do with students, and the teacher can record their students doing a little Alice tea party. Okay, there's some prizes to be won there as well. You've got stickers, you've got worksheets, you've got handouts, a lot of great activities. So if you're interested more about doing a competition, maybe at the end of term or the end of the month with your students, do have a look at that. If you want any more information, please contact our staff at the back who are going to wave at you. Okay, contact them as well. But yeah, so see if we can have a Taiwan winner in the Asia competition. That would be good. Okay, see if you can beat the Thailand or Vietnam, China. It'd be great to have a Taiwanese winner for that one. So that's the Alice competition. I mentioned the webinars on those links. If you want to develop yourself professionally as well, but you don't have time on a Sunday morning to come to these kind of events, okay, there's some really great online sessions as well at our website up there. If you're interested in storytelling or classroom management, or maybe you're interested more in IELTS or preparing for exams, a whole host of webinars there if you're interested. So please jump on there and have a look, and keep developing yourselves. So thanks very much for having me. Thanks for coming on a Sunday. It's a beautiful day, and I certainly look forward to exploring Taiwan a little bit more this afternoon. If you've got any suggestions for me in terms of Taiwanese food or places to go on a Sunday, please let me know. So thanks for